or 40 pegs, and I sort of spent some time selecting this peg today. You can see it's a wonderful peg for cover on the far bank, and obviously that's going to be a great holding area for the fish. But who's to say? I mean, I just don't know. Maybe there's as good or better pegs closer down to the actual fishery. It's got great access as well on a bridge with a private gate, so it's not difficult to get to the canal, and also the parking's safe, so it really is a fantastic venue. I've started off by fishing about 4 inches over depth, and at the moment the canal's hardly moving at all, so we'll have to see how conditions change as the session progresses. But I had a little bite then, so that's a good sign on my other line. There's some fish there as well. Obviously the flow is caused by the opening and closing of the locks, and just downstream of Shirley at Hatton there's a huge flight of locks, and at times this canal can flow really hard, so there's different ways of dealing with that, but at the moment it's absolutely perfect. I'm able to hold the float in position really nicely and present the bait perfectly. Oh, and here comes the first boat of the day. And here's the second boat, so looks like there's a few early birds out this morning already. Well, I'll just let the swim settle after those boats go through, but I don't get too fussed about them really. Obviously the canals were built for boats, and I think the fish are pretty much used to them. Just what can happen is obviously it will affect where the fish are in the peg, so as there's more and more boats it might push the fish further up the shelf towards that cover, but I'll continue fishing on that original line, and I might also consider refeeding if I don't get any bites, because obviously the boats can cause quite a big disturbance as they come through. You can see where a lot of the canal's been churned up, and I might need to refeed, but let's just have a look. It might not have bothered them at all. Well, I went back to the left-hand swim, and I'm into another bream. So I didn't actually have any bites on the other line, but I'm pleased to get another fish so quickly after those boats. I think it's interesting, sometimes when you do this, you do find that one line will outfish the other. I'm not going to give up on that right-hand line, because even if I don't really catch on it, it does give me the chance to rest the main line. It's another beautiful bream. I'm glad I'm fishing this bit heavier gear. I've got a 6 elastic on this rig, and it's definitely helping me to play the fish really effectively, because that's another beautiful bream. Perhaps not quite as big as the first two, but can't complain at that. Bit chunky, probably around about £2 that one. Well, that was an interesting comment from Chappie, because obviously he's zooming in on the float so he can see it, and I think he was wondering why I didn't strike sooner, because you might have noticed, but I let the bite really develop. I didn't strike immediately, and I let the float sort of really bury before I struck. And certainly when you're fishing with bigger baits like this, and when you're targeting bigger fish like bream, I think you've got to be really careful not to strike at line bites and run the risk of foul hooking fish. So you can see that that float now has settled quite nicely. I haven't dotted it right down either because I want to be able to read the bites. And can you see then there was just a little knock then, and it looks like there's a fish on, so I'm going to strike, and I missed it. How typical's that? Well, that one showed me up a bit because I definitely let it go, but the bait's not being marked at all, so it might have been a line bite. You can just imagine the fact that we've caught 3 bream out of that one spot already. There must be a good shoal of fish there, and who knows, maybe it was a smaller fish that got in on the action. So I'll just repeat the process and see what happens. This float's a 0.4 gram float, so it's quite a positive float for the depth of water. I'm fishing in just over 3 foot of water there, and I think that's important as well because it is just helping me to be really positive with my rig placement, and also when I'm getting the bites and hopefully hitting the bites. So I've got a small bulk of shot, which I'll show you in a bit more detail later in the video when we go through the rigs, but I've got a small bulk of shot and then just one dropper shot, and that's really key, I think, when you're fishing like this, because if I'm fishing too deep, that dropper shot will be on the bottom and more of the float will protrude. But I know now that that dropper shot's perhaps just off the bottom, and hopefully it's going to help to aid the bites and connecting with the fish. Now there's something having a go at that already, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait, and hopefully we'll get a positive bite which we can connect with. If I'm continue to get problems hitting bites, then obviously I'll adjust the rig. So I might change the depth. I might actually take a shot off to leave a little bit more of the float showing. And this also emphasises how great it is to have 2 swims, because it might be just that the fish have just gone a bit finicky and I can just top up this line and rest it, which often results in a quick fish. So there's definitely fish down there, that's for sure. And we're back in. So I really left that for probably 4 or 5 seconds before I hit it. And hopefully that's going to result in another nice bream. And actually this one's pulling really hard, so just going to take my time by keeping the pole low to the water and just moving the pole more level to the towpath so I can start to ship it back. Oh, it is another nice bream. Monty, you're sitting on my landing net pole. Perfect. That one has definitely got a bit more fight about him. He's not really any bigger, and it's absolutely perfectly hooked just in the corner of the mouth. Well, this is shaping up to be an amazing session already. I had 2 bream on my right hand swim, and I just thought I'd rest that again. I fed it, and